Welcome to Mental Fitness, the Gateway to Success podcast, providing business owners, leaders, and entrepreneurs with the 3 INs: insights, inspirations, and intentional actions. Delivered through monologues and dialogues, we address topics like leadership, productivity, time management, work-life balance, and challenges like stress, conflict, mental health, and much more. Please do not hold back from suggesting specific topics and guests you would like on this podcast. Greetings and welcome to this episode. We're going to dive a little bit deeper into meditation. If you watched episode 22, I kind of started this journey on meditation in that episode. You don't need to go back and listen to that or watch that. Because what I did in that one was purely looking at the meaning of the word meditation to give us a little bit of a deeper insight into the root of that and then how that has been used differently in different parts of the world. So it was kind of just creating a bit of a foundation and setting the scene for that. In this episode, I want to dive into a few different things. And one of them is give you a little bit more of a background on my journey with meditation and where I'm sitting today with that and how I'm doing that these days. Not in order for you to know more about me, but more in order to fulfill what this podcast is about, which is the 3 INs, providing the audience with some insights, some inspiration, and taking some intentional action. So if sharing my story can help you fulfill any of those INs, then it's been worthwhile doing. I also want to dive into a bit about why meditate. What is the actual purpose of meditation? And also what is it that tends to get in the way of people actually meditating, even when they say they think it's a good thing and they want to be doing it, but are still struggling with it. So my journey of meditation started shortly after I came here to New Zealand, a bit over 30 years ago. I mentioned that very briefly in the last episode. We ended up, my partner and I, now my wife, in a Vipassana, 10-day silent Vipassana retreat, meditating for 14 hours a day. 1 hour walking, 1 hour sitting, 1 hour walking, 1 hour sitting, 7 rounds of that every day in silence. And no, that is not the way to start meditation. I can definitely not recommend that. Unless you're as crazy as me. We didn't know. So we've been recommended it by somebody else and we jumped into it. And it is way too intense as a beginning. For a start, we were asked, to sit cross-legged on a cushion. And I've never done that before. You imagine doing that for 7 hours a day. You only get to day 2 before you're in significant pain. And then day 3 and 4, it just gets progressively worse. If you think it can get any worse, well, it can. And it did. And again, there's a silence. And there was an 80-year-old Burmese monk that was teaching this who didn't speak that much English. But we had a chance to go and see this teacher, a few times during the week to, get some I don't know, like support. So I went in there, of course, and he asked, "How's your meditation?" And I went, "Oh, got lots of pain in my knees," and he just went, "Good. Pain is good for meditation. Meditate on your pain. See you tomorrow." And I was like, okay. So the next day I'm sitting there meditating on the pain. And of course, this just gets worse and worse. And now it's not just in my knees, it's in my back. And then on day 6, like the whole body is in agony, actually. And I got back in to see the teacher again, I think maybe the day or a couple of days after, and it was the exact same thing that happened again. And I went in there 3rd time, I think we're now around day 7. And at that point in time, like I'm not a violent person and I wouldn't do anything, but that's a time where it was like I was ready to do something with this guy because his teaching was not helpful. or at least so I didn't think. So I went back and then just carried on. So, oh, bloody hell, I wanted to sit and meditate on this pain. And it was on that day it happened. And that really is what got me hooked onto meditation and has been hooked onto it ever since. Because there was a moment on that day 7 where I was sitting in all this pain and just trying to do what this bloody teacher told me to do, meditate on the pain. And then there was the moment. The moment was just like a switch was turned. Just like when I did my first fire walk, where there's so much fear, anxiety, so much heat, absolutely unbearable. And then in a split second, there's a switch, and then there's no heat. I mean, from total heat to no heat in a split moment. And then I just walked over the red glowing coals without burning myself. So this was my second time of having that kind of experience that in a flash, all the pain disappeared completely. Not just reduced a little bit, it was completely gone. And all I experienced was bliss. And of course, it didn't take too many seconds before the brain went, "Oh, that's cool. How did that happen? What's that?" And then bang, back in the brain, and bang, the pain was back again. And then I never managed to get that back again for the rest of the retreat. But I didn't mind that too much because I had that experience. The seed was sown. Now it was about me getting back into the real life and looking at how do I bring this into my life. And what happened not too long after that, my wife and I got offered the opportunity to be caretakers at one of the oldest and biggest meditation retreats in New biggest. Sorry, I'm just checking something there. Then looked a bit odd. I hope this is recording and it's still going. So yeah, we got an opportunity to go and live in this meditation center for an entire year and got to meet a lot of different meditation teachers from around the world that came to teach. And because we were caretakers, we were allowed to sit in on sessions and lessons and meditation practices. So that was a whole different way now to meditate than rigid, intense hours on end, sitting in, in mostly discomfort. So that opened my eyes up to different ways, different styles, different methods, using visualizations, using mantras, all that kind of stuff. So that was really good education for me. And at the end of that year as caretakers, we were allowed to go into our own retreat if we wanted. So, of course, I said yes to that. So I went into a 3 week silent solo retreat in one of the huts right up at the top of the property with an astonishing view over the valley and the river. And spent 3 weeks there on my own, meditating, getting a little bit of guidance from the residential meditation teacher, and again, a completely different experience. And then after that, I actually ended up doing another 10-day Vipassana retreat, a completely different style that was less rigid, was still like 10 plus hours of meditation a day, um, and still very, very challenging, but very different, very educational. And it was after that that I started then bringing meditation in to the work I started doing as a coach and a teacher, and then even did some meditation classes teaching that. Um, and because like the experiences that I had had over that, it's probably about 2 years by now, was quite profound and quite deep, quite intense. And then somewhere along the way, I shifted my business from my teaching and coaching into working what I've been doing now for about 17 years, working with business leaders, business owners. So I thought, yeah, we need to get these busy business people meditating. And getting them to so they probably can't get them to do an hour in the morning, an hour in the evening, maybe also just half an hour. And all I got from everyone was this stare, like, you got to be kidding. No, I don't have time for that. And it was really a reality check for me. And I said, well, 15? I said, no, no, 10, I'll try five. And with the background I had, the real value in that type of meditation was those long, intense ones where you go through all the turmoil, the physical intensity and the mental intensity and the madness and the monkey mind and all of that stuff was a part of the practice of sticking with that and sticking with that and sticking with that. Not that I can recommend that way of doing it, but for me, it was the quickest way for me to learn and get those experiences of that depth that is available when we do that. So what I did about again 17 years ago, I went, okay, I need to find something completely different for my clients. We can still call it meditation or mindfulness, but it needs to be something that suits busy people and still gives as much value as is possible. Can't bring the level of value that the long, deep meditations can, but some of the value of meditation I still wanted to get across. So I created over a period of time what I ended up terming modern meditation. That term didn't exist at the time. And later on, there's been others that have taken that term. I don't think they're taking it from me, but I doubt it. It might just come up with themselves as well. So I created that. It was kind of a product. Did some recordings, was available on my website. But more importantly, I started in facilitating that for my clients, and that worked for those people. And then over time, for those who wanted to dive a little bit deeper, and we could do a bit longer or in some of our sessions. So I took actually people on several a week or week and a half private retreats. Some of them back to that center actually. And there we could then go into to those deeper and longer meditation and get the value from that. So essentially, since that time, that is how I have been teaching meditation to people through these short little bursts that I then termed meditation snacking. Out of the many things I learned at the center, the residential teacher, he was saying something one, I can't remember most of the things I learned up there, but this one I'll never forget. And he's there teaching a big class, and he says, Um, you are actually better off doing 60 one-minute meditations a day than one 60-minute meditation. And as soon as he said that, I went, of course. Like that was just so clear to me. And looking around at all these people in the meditation hall who've been meditating for years and years and hours, you could see they were kind of like, why are we doing all these hours? No, 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 no. But to me, it just made total sense. And I guess that stuck with me. And out of that, I created the meditation snacking of 2-minute meditation, then 1 minute meditations, then half-minute meditations, and these days 10-second meditations. Things you can do on the go. You can do it, you get into the car. You can do it as you're going to bed, when going to the shower, brushing your teeth, on and on and on. So it is actually extremely valuable to be able to do those short meditations throughout the day. And now we have other systems that are encouraging that. There are apps, there are like Positive Intelligence, PQ program that I am taking all my clients through. It's an amazing program. It's on your phone. And it is going through these 10-second, they call them PQ reps, positive intelligence reps, which essentially is a meditation snack. And you keep track on those on your phone. It's a great one. Check it out if you want, positiveintelligence.com. And if you want to do that, come and talk to me because I'm trained by Positive Intelligence to take people through that program, and it's really powerful to do. So get in touch if you want to know more about that. Um, so. shifting that focus back 16, 17 years ago meant that I also shifted that focus. So for the last 15 years, it is very rare for me to sit down cross-legged on a cushion for any length of time. I can easily do that, but I find the biggest value for me is in doing the longer meditations when I am exercising, for example, when I'm walking, when I'm at the gym, when I'm running on the beach, when I'm driving is one of my favorite places for it. So modern meditation for the modern world, for the modern lifestyle, where most of the traditional, if not all the traditional meditation practices were created a long time ago in places like monasteries and places where people were used to sitting cross-legged and sitting on cushions and going into these longer extended periods. And it is just not suitable for most Westerners. And really realizing that through the work I've been doing in the last 17 years, I made that shift. And not just in my coaching and teaching, but also in my own life. And that is how I do the meditations, my meditations today. I do a lot of it every day, but it's spread out throughout the day. And there are some that are longer ones, but I'm combining them. For example, my morning 20, 25 minutes of meditation is also my breathing, Wim Hof breathing practice. So that's a breathing that does all the wonderful things that the breathing is doing. But it's also my meditation practice because I can meditate within that as the activity is super simple. So that's a little bit about my journey. If you have any questions to that, pop them in the comments or contact me. Or if you got anything you would like to share about your journey, feel free to put that in the comments. So when I ask people what like would you like, are you meditating? I said, oh, no, 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 not really. Or, oh, yeah, I tried that. It didn't really work for me. Or no, it's too complicated. Or I haven't got time for that. So I go, fine, sure. Um, would you like to meditate? And almost every single time I get a yes. So then I go, why is that? But why do you want to do it, but you're not doing it? And again, the answers are typical, or I tried it, but I don't feel like getting any value out of it, or it takes too long, or when I sit down and try and concentrate, my mind just goes crazy. I just sit there and think full on, and not really. Or I don't know if that meditation. Um, so. One of the next thing that I tend to do with most people, and I will give you that tool right now, and if it's useful for you, is I'm doing a little exercise with people, and I say, okay, we're going to ask the question, meditation is, just write that on the top of a piece of paper or a notepad, and then say it to yourself. Meditation is, and then write down the first word that comes to your mind. Meditation is cool. Right, cool. And then you go, meditation is difficult. Meditation is weird. Meditation is good for you. Meditation creates inner peace. And you keep doing that for 5 to 10 minutes, and you will get this long list. And what that is, when we ask that type of question, is we are eliciting the beliefs that we have about meditation. And pretty much everyone would have a mixture of positive and negative beliefs based on either what you've heard, based on what you've experienced. So by doing that, you will get a clearer picture of what are some of the limiting beliefs you have that might be quite deep on meditation. Like for some, oh, it's a spiritual thing, or it's against my spiritual practice, or and so on. So it's not about deciding whether the beliefs are right or wrong. It's about an awareness of those beliefs. Because then if you decide you want to meditate, whether the way in the last episode we looked at the Western way, or the way within Christianity, for example, or in the more Eastern way, and different traditions from that. It's all meditation, and the root of it is all the same. But whatever your beliefs are, wherever you got them from, doesn't matter. But what matters is that if you decide you want to meditate, then the negative beliefs that you have about meditation will interfere with your practice somewhere along the way. Probably not on day one, probably not in the first week or two. But when it starts getting challenging and you're feeling you're not making the progress you would like to, then those beliefs are going to talk you out of it. And for other people, it will talk them out of even starting. So I'm not even going to try. And I'm fine either way, whatever it is for you. But if you want to meditate, then, and you're not doing it already, and you're not getting the benefits you want, I suggest for you to do that little exercise and at least take at least 5 minutes to sit with that question over and over and over again. And even if you're repeating the answer, just keep repeating, writing the same answer down. You will get some insights into what might be holding you back. So with that, then, when we get to meditate and the actual practices on that, I will leave that to the next episode, otherwise it's going to get too long. This is more sit-up, more creating a good solid foundation. So now the positive beliefs that you had on that list, you can then bring them out, write them down, have them around you, because they are the ones that are going to support you and keep going when it seems like you're going backwards, because that is also going to happen. This is a long haul. It's just like learning to walk, learning to talk, learning to be good at tennis or golf or business or anything. Yeah, it's a long haul. You can get some immediate, very positive value from it, but the real deeper values, the sustainable values, they come over time and they will keep coming. I've been doing this for over 30 years and I'm still doing it and I'm still getting the value from it. So the other thing I then tend to do with people, and also initially did with myself to get the clarity, is like, so why meditate? Like, what is the purpose of it? And then in looking into that question myself, then I realized that that was kind of a too broad of a question. There was more than one question there, really. And I ended up with two core questions that I will pose to people, and I'll share them with you. One, answer the question for you. What is the purpose of meditation for you? The second question is, what is the outcome of meditation? So when I'm asking the question, what is the purpose? People would tend to tell me outcomes that they want. And let's not argue around the words here. It doesn't really, you can reverse those two words either way around, depending on what meaning you put to it. It doesn't matter. What matters is looking at it from two different viewpoints. So outcomes, there are tons of outcomes that we can get or that people want from meditation. It might be better sleeps. I want to be more focused. I want to lose some weight. I want to experience more peace of mind. I want to experience more joy. I want to experience more happiness. I want to be more calm. I want to be able to be of better service to my family and my partner, the kids, my community, the people around me, and on and on and on and on. And all of those things, plus many more benefits, you can gain from meditation. No, absolutely. Nothing wrong with that. Have those outcomes. And I really suggest that you write them down. Like what are, and it's not about the making the longest possible list. It's just about finding the most important ones there. Because that is becomes a part of the why, which we've talked so much about earlier in these episodes, which is driving force, which is the lighthouse, just like a life purpose. Um, that is why that will keep you going when it seems to not be working. Um, so those are the outcomes. Then what if we then look at what is the purpose? And it's not the same question in my mind. So let me clarify. For me, the purpose is of meditating is relatively simple, not easy, but relatively simple. In my language, it's about moving more and more into the driver's seat of my life. Other way of putting that, for me, the purpose of meditation is to becoming increasingly more and more present in this moment. So the more present I am within my body, the more present I am with my wife, with people around, with my clients, the more present I am when I'm out driving, the more present I am when I'm handling dangerous tools, and on and on and on. The more present I am with the sunset, the more joy I experience. So the more fully present I can be with anything, mm, the more deeply I experience that. And whether it is a either a so-called positive or negative experience, it still provides the same power. So with the positive experiences, it really enhances that and gives so much more value for that. With the so-called negative ones, it allows me to more quickly deal with that tension, that pain, that suffering, that sadness, that frustration, and get through it by using meditation to learn from it and then transcend it on the other side of it and then move on and deal with that which caused it if that needs to be dealt with, but now from a different level of clarity, from a different level of presence. So for me, that's the essence of meditation. That is the purpose of meditation, because that works in every single area of life. And then all the wonderful outcomes that we can get from it are better sleeps and healthier body and better relationships, better intimacy, better sex, and all of that good stuff. Absolutely. Meditation definitely can help with that. So, finishing this episode today, my invitation for you is to, if meditation is something that you want to look into, or if it's something you're already doing, I still recommend do that a little exercise, but you must physically write it down. You cannot do this exercise in the mind and get decent value out of it. Meditation is fill in the blank and keep filling in the blank for 5 to 10 minutes without stopping. It will bring insights into your unconscious relationship with meditation. And then, should you choose to then step into meditation or continue with your meditation, you will now be able to see when the resistance to it shows up, which it always will. You will be able to recognize what is driving that resistance. And then you can meditate on that. And as we said in the last episode, meditation really means to investigate into, to dive into, to meditate on that which is happening within you, including the resistance to meditation. And then the second exercise I recommend is just to sit down and write down for you what are some of the outcomes in your physical life that you would like to see shifting within your own being and within the way you're showing up and the results that you're creating in this physical life of yours. And then if you wish, you can sit down and ask other questions. So what is the deeper underlying purpose of meditation for you? And all of that helps setting, I believe, a much more powerful and healthy foundation for your meditation journey going forward. And again, regardless of whether you're just starting, have been on for a little while, or been on it for a long time, I believe in any of those situations, doing those little exercises would be valuable. So that's my invitation. Go and do that. And then in the next episode, I will come in with a little bit more practical meditation practices of all different kind of types and kinds to make sure that you find something, that there's something there for you that works for you, because there are literally thousands of different ways of doing that. And not about right or wrong, it is only about what works for you. So if you've got any further questions to that, anything specific around meditation you would like for me to dive into in the next episode, which might end up being the last episode of this podcast, pop them in now, so we're going to make sure that I address those if I'm capable. Till then, happy exploration and happy meditating. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Mental Fitness, the Gateway to Success. If you have stories of how mental fitness has benefited you that you are happy to share, go to my website, it.And, click on podcast and fill in the guest application form. If you want direct support from me utilizing my 40 years of mental fitness learning and practice, email me at coach@mikael.nz or message me on LinkedIn. Any feedback, review, share, follow, like, or any other good stuff is of course appreciated. Thank you for listening to Mental Fitness, the Gateway to Success podcast. I'm your host, Mikael Nielsen.